On this episode of The View, there's a whole lot going on in the market. Unplanned plant outages are causing global supply issues and price increases on a few key products. Destocking seems to be over, and demand is on the rise for raw materials. A bankruptcy in the freight world is causing almost 20% of U.S. capacity to go out. Stay tuned for all this and more on the View from Jamestown podcast edition. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 94. This is the August 2023 edition. And once again, I think we're setting a record for the most number of times having everybody here. But with the full gang, we have TCC President Robb Roach, Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg, VP of Sales AJ Petrarca, and Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all doing?
Excellent.
Very
Excellent.
good.
Fantastic.
Having a good summer. Yeah. Good. Things are good.
Yeah? All good?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah?
Yeah, business not that well, but
Everything else is good, though.
everything else is good, you know?
Having a good time.
Having a good time.
Summer's going too quick. It's slipping away.
Yeah.
It is. I think the kids go back in what, 2 weeks?
2
To
weeks.
school?
Something like that, yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Summer seems to get shorter and shorter
Down
every
south,
year.
they're already back.
Yeah.
They're already
Yeah?
back in school. Yeah, down
Yeah.
south. Yeah. Too bad for them.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
They get out earlier. You know, they go back earlier.
I think it all equals the same amount of days. That, you know.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't get snow days.
That's true.
Oh, I guess we don't get snow days anymore either, right? With
I think it depends on the...
e-learning and whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, the school, the grade, whatever it is, you know. But
Yeah.
Yeah, they figured that one out.
Yeah, right.
Just work from home today, you know, or
Right,
whatever. So
right.
not too many snow days anymore. They don't have that problem.
Yeah, it's mid-August. How's the cold plunging going? Are we still cold plunging? as
I'm
a
still
follow-up from
cold
our last-
plunged. Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I cold plunged this morning.
Yeah.
6 minutes. I fixed the filter, so it's actually at 37 degrees all the time now. I had jammed up the filter with walking out there barefoot and bringing like crumbs and stuff, you know, like stuff. But anyway, so now it's a true 37 degrees. It's brutal. I mean, it is
Sounds brutal.
freaking brutal. I have to keep my toes and fingers out, and 6 minutes. It's chill.
It's good.
Yeah.
and a good
It is
playlist
good.
going.
Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend
I've
it.
been getting on online about since we talked about it. I
I know the phones are listening to us. Yeah.
Yes. I've been getting like
All of the
portable polar plunges.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
All the
haven't- you haven't
Instagram
pulled the
ads.
trigger yet?
Not yet.
I saw a thing about the spike in serotonin that it gives you. It's like
Yeah.
unmatched to anything else that you can do is the cold plunge. It's supposed to be insane.
I think how it works is you're such shock, you're not thinking about anything for a minute. Like you're not
Right.
like grinding on, chemicals not selling for a minute, so you're like, oh, so at least it like clears your brain, but it takes a couple minutes and you get used to it. And by the end, you're like, I don't want to get out. This feels really, really good. But no, it's going well. I like it.
Which is all fun and games in August. We're gonna have
Yes.
this conversation in
I
February.
was thinking about that. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I keep my house at 64 degrees.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'll go in after I cold plunge and I'll be like,
Yeah, right.
this is brutal. Let's turn the heat up, know? And
Well, when it's 25 degrees outside and you get in 36 degree water, it's like it'd be like a hot tub. It's,
Yeah,
it's
right?
warm.
yeah,
don't
then you
you
just have
have-
to go down to the launch ramp and go in the water.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out back and go in the cold plunge tank. But
Right.
but it's going all right. It's like you said, it's good for summer. I don't know how I'll be doing it in the winter.
Yeah.
But
Stay tuned.
Well, it's mid-August. It's actually, I think, kind of been an interesting week or two. I feel like we've been talking a bunch about, maybe demand improving a little bit, business improving a little bit. We've actually seen some price increase letters for the first time this month in what feels like a very long time. Felt like a long time where our emails were getting filled up with PDFs of price increase letters, and that's obviously stopped largely for the most part for the course of the year. So it's been, I feel like it's been an interesting week or two.
yeah, I'd say there's definitely been an uptick because of problems on the supply side. So it's 100% the supply side. It's not the demand side picking up. Did my international day yesterday, spoke to people all over the place and outside of USA. Europeans are saying things are really, really bad there. People are running out of money. Plants are going to shut down because of high cost. Also a reminder that last year was a very warm winter. So if that doesn't happen this year, you've already seen energy costs move up tremendously. Brent's at 85. So there's some real concern there, and they're sort of in that mode of increasing interest rates too. So things are really, really slow there. But people feel that maybe September might be a little uptick because there's been such poor demand, and then vacations and holidays for summer, and there might be a mild uptick. And then over in China, Asia, most of the business that's within Asia has spread out throughout the rest of China, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, et cetera. A lot of that's gone out of China. China's also very much in dire straits. They're in, deflation. Things are extremely cheap there, but nobody's buying. And the whole China economy, in terms of keeping people happy and having retirement and having was based on real estate. And real estate got more and more and more expensive, and people just simply couldn't afford it. And they would give loans, and the loans would pay interest, and that whole cycle has kind of broke down, where people are now not buying real estate and they're paying down their debt. And also the cap on foreign investment, has really, really hurt them. Finally, unemployment is really, really bad, especially young people in China, upwards of 20%. Just this morning in the Wall Street Journal, they said they're not reporting unemployment for people in their 20s anymore because it's gotten so high. So things are really bad in China, and we're seeing extremely low prices, but you still have a tariff. We're going to talk a little bit about the tariff exemptions, but there's still tariffs in place. So I think that we're going to go into a phase we've been talking a lot about the last, year really, which is rationalization. You're going to see plants shutting down and inability to produce, and that could have some impact on the first half of next year, I'd say.
Yeah. My first reaction to that is I'm impressed you got anybody on the phone in Europe.
Yeah,
it's August 15th.
Yeah, I did. Believe it or not. Yes, amazing. I did. Yeah. We did the rounds in Europe yesterday, and well, they just like talking to me. I think they were on vacation, but they were happy to take my call.
Yeah, when you can get somebody on the phone while they're on vacation, that's how you know you're doing a good job.
Everybody's looking forward to EPCA, in Vienna coming up. So
yeah. It's interesting that I think that all kind of mirrors a lot of the recent, we've seen the chemical industry announcing their Q2 results, and I think it was Steve Friedewald yesterday, the day before, sent kind of a good summary of what everybody said, and it seems like everyone kind of agrees with a lot of that. Everyone's down 10 to 25%, some people even more. I think people agree Europe's in a recession. China economy is not picking up as much as people would like to, and I think people expect things to be mostly flat to end this year, and are already kind of looking to next year for stuff to improve. So it's interesting with every different business that reports earnings and their 2 cents on stuff. It seems like that was kind of a consensus.
I thought it was shocking. Some of them. I mean, one of them was down 92%.
I know.
Did you see that? 92%.
I thought it was a typo.
I did too. I was like,
there's no way.
What? 92%. Yeah. Oh, wow. And that was revenues, I think. Wasn't it revenues, or was that
EBITDA?
EBITDA. Oh my gosh. Wow. And that particular company was very, very heavily weighted towards China.
Yeah.
That'll tell you something, so you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what's happened a lot in the last 20 years, really.
Yeah. Well, speaking of China, obviously we mentioned it last time and are still keeping an eye on it. Obviously the tariff exemptions set to expire at the end of the month. I've seen a bunch of articles and a bunch of people pushing to make a decision on those sooner rather than later. Obviously us, trying to bring stuff in now. It's not going to get here most likely by September 30th. So we're making decisions and kind of guessing if it's going to come in or not. But obviously it does nobody any good to extend or not extend 2 days before. So seen a lot of articles, people trying to push, I think, legislators to make a decision on that, but obviously no update as of now.
No update as of now that we've seen. It's like you said, in the hands of our legislators who aren't known to move super nimbly, but we'll do the best we can to navigate it. I think it's probably going to be like we've seen in the past, where the exemption lapses and then comes back into place, where it's going to leave a little gap where we're paying the tariff, which is messy, of course, right. But that's just what we're dealing with now.
Yep. But tariffs aside, obviously we've seen low prices out of Asian producers, potentially, material and prices being supplemented to keep plants running and things like that. I think we've seen a bit of that last couple of months as well.
Yeah, I think actually we've seen an uptick in a lot of products from China over the last couple of weeks. I think it hit the floor and then kind of bounced back up a little bit. I think I'm hearing ocean freight is up a little bit, and they were just selling at unsustainable levels at a loss in a lot of cases, you know, but yeah, it's and even considering the 25% tariff on the products that have that now, it's still, the cheapest cost in the world in some cases on certain chemistries.
Yeah, Javier was looking at pricing down to Mexico, I think it was, right? And there's some
crazy low numbers on some products, and the freight, it's coming up a little bit, but the price of the product itself is very cheap.
Yeah, some of those like CFR prices, when you even include in the freight, it's like that's a crazy price.
That's a crazy price, and even that we're not getting it.
We're still not getting the orders.
Still not getting the orders at that price. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper elsewhere, or because
the demand?
There's just no demand.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know, probably the price is going to be lower in 6 weeks. Like, I don't know if I'm buying at the right time. I don't know. It's uncertainty.
Wow.
Really.
Wow.
Last couple weeks, we've seen sort of mixed things going on in the stock market. The Dow's up, but the other indicators are down. Consumer spending still seems strong. I think this week, like retailers announce earnings, so hear from Target and Walmart and all that stuff to see how people are spending money. That's obviously a indicator of what's to happen. Obviously, oil and gas, as you mentioned, are trending upwards. I think even oil is up like 15% or something like that over the last 30 days. So things are that side of things moving up. It's obviously getting more expensive to produce stuff, at least here in the States. I know Europe, gas prices in Europe remain quite high, so they're obviously doing much worse than we are. But obviously, we're starting to see production costs in the U.S. starting to come up as well.
Well, based on the number of packages on my front porch when I get home after work, we're spending money. The kids have jobs this summer. They're getting like these mixed boxes where they just like they don't know what they're going to get, but they got these. Yeah, they get these like surprise boxes where it comes in from
Amazon.
No, from like a clothing company or like a brand.
Okay.
And they get like mixed and they get all excited and they open it up, and my wife's buying everything on Amazon, I guess. So yeah, consumer, the retail's going.
Consumer spending in the Roach house.
The Roach house is
through the roof.
Solely.
I wonder how much of it is it's just so easy. Yeah. I don't care if you want, I don't know, blue rubber bands. You can find them. You know what I mean? Like you just like, I want blue rubber bands. Boom, you got them. Yep. So it's a lot of ease. People are spending money. But we're definitely seeing things, getting more expensive again. Like specifically fuel. You're going to talk to logistics company. Fuel surcharges have come up. OPEC and Russia both cut production rates several months ago. We beat that $80 threshold about 2-3 weeks ago, and it stayed above that now, 83, 85. The stock market is scary right now because it's been so propped up on AI. All the big tech giants are trillions of dollars in value, where everything else has kind of been left behind. We're in the materials group, industrial, that's really kind of lagged. Even things like electric cars, which are such a rage, those have lagged. Tesla, NIO, all these big electric car companies. Ford stopped making electric cars. They've gone to hybrid. So, a lot of these trends that were really propping it up have kind of deflated a little bit, and we'll see how we're going to have to get back to basics of what are earnings and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, we're getting into a different season now, so you're going to see some of our different products start picking up, like methanol, glycol, things like that, and some of that's gotten really impacted by the demand in China, Europe, etc. So, like methanol is flooded right now. I mean, on the Gulf, it's 70 cents a gallon. Real big discrepancy between published prices and what it is available on spot. We're seeing that a lot in a lot of products. So, glycol is being impacted by the Dow fire, the Dow explosion, EO production, so glycol is having a little bit of a ramp up here, and you're going to see demand for EG, DEG, MEG, TEG coming up in the wintertime and in the fall. So some of that stuff will pick up. So yeah, I guess I got off base a little bit there. So what was you?
No, but obviously, like you get into, now people are traveling, doing whatnot, and if consumer spending is still high now, you're obviously going to come into a time with the holidays and whatnot. People are spending money, so it's nothing but I think positive outlook for spending money on stuff, and the economy moving and people buying things, because you're obviously now's the season when people aren't doing that, and if that is still happening, it's going to keep happening.
Yeah, I definitely seen it's very similar to last year. A lot of people out and about enjoying the summer. There's no doubt about it. There's still some people working from home, so they're out. golfing in the restaurants during the week.
Yep.
Airports are packed.
Airports are packed, but I've heard little cracks in things where some rental people are saying things are slowing up, things like that. So I think there might be a little reality sinking back into the American economy.
I saw an article yesterday that like bars in New York City are changing happy hours from Fridays to like Wednesdays and Thursdays because people do this like hybrid work thing where they're in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if you go to the office on Wednesday, you're going to have drinks after work on a Wednesday with your coworkers. You're not going to leave your house on Friday to go have happy hour. So everyone's moving like the happy hour days. I was like, it makes sense, I guess. You gotta adapt.
Yeah, on Friday, I was reading about those types of things where Fridays and Mondays are dead. And Friday, we were all here. We were working. We had a barbecue.
Yeah.
I mean, like we did a whole day.
It was a busy
on
day.
Friday.
Busy
Where everybody's at home. We had a very busy Friday. And, Monday we came in bright and early and with, Sunday scaries or not, we were here Monday morning. So I don't get this whole thing, but.
Which I like our Friday meetings. Like I talked to some people like, oh yeah, we have a 2-hour office meeting and a 2-hour conference call on Friday. And they're like, wow, that's terrible. I'm like, oh, I kind of like it. Like it's a good way to end the week. Like you summarize everything going on.
We
Like,
have fun,
I couldn't imagine doing it on a different day. I think.
Yeah, we mix it up. It's not
Every so often, but
Every so often
it throws a wrench in everyone's routine. I think
I think they're cool. I like them.
I like the
I feel
Fridays.
bad when I miss them. I kind of feel bad. I feel like I get FOMO.
Yeah.
We're a community. You know what I mean? We're a community, and we get together on Fridays, and it's not stressful. We have a good time. Everybody gets to talk, and sometimes we get distracted, and that's fun. We talk about crazy things.
That's fine.
Rob comes with his puppy, and the puppy sits in his arm like this.
Yeah, we have dogs. Dogs are allowed.
You got to bring a new puppy next time.
I will.
Next Friday.
I'll bring you the puppy.
Off-basis story time for you. So historically, we buy everything at Costco. AJ loves Costco. So we buy things in bulk at Costco, paper towels, things like this. So we haven't been to Costco in a long time, so we ran out of napkins. Abby's parents came over, like we had no napkins at the house, so I bought them on Amazon. We've been buying them at Costco. You get a lifetime supply of napkins. You get 18,000 napkins or whatever, and it's $29. I bought a single thing of 200 napkins. It came like this, in a box like this, and it was $3.48 delivered to my house on Amazon. I don't know how anybody makes any money delivering me 200 napkins for $3.48, but I'm not going to buy them at Costco anymore. Sorry, Costco. I apologize. But
I told you it's not that great of a deal. I've been telling you for years.
AJ's eyes just lit up. He's like, this is the moment.
Like we literally just didn't. We took paper towels and folded them in half because we haven't been to Costco and had no napkins. I'm like, this $3.48. Like I don't know how anyone makes money. I don't know how UPS makes money. I don't know how Amazon makes money. I don't know how.
And probably
Bounty.
overnight.
Yeah, the next day. Yeah. Makes no sense to me. I don't know what the moral of that story was, but I thought it was like you talk about like consumer spending and buying stuff online. Like it's crazy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy that you just do it.
Right.
The click of a button.
You don't even shop around. You just say I want Amazon, and overnight my account is there, my card is there. It's just the convenience.
And I can have it delivered automatically once a month for $3.28.
That applies to us when Rob was saying getting the computer. It's there.
Yeah.
Don't give our secrets away.
No.
That's a trade secret. Proprietary information.
This is public facing here.
Cue the napkin ads on our.
Oh, I know.
Right.
They're constantly listening to us.
Well, Javi, while you're giving away all of our secrets, how are things going in your neck of the woods?
Well,
I don't mean Frenchtown Lane. I mean Latam.
Yeah, well, I talked to many people. Last week I was on a rampage. I was telling AJ, I was calling and reaching out, just see what's up, what's going on, like tell me. And I heard
we call that working.
So I was working last week. I put my hours, and I heard that Brazil has the cost of money. It's 13.5% a year, and they have the lowest imports in July of 2023. So last month compared to 2009. So that's bad for us.
The lowest since 2009.
The lowest since 2009. Yeah, the imports are being hit the lowest.
Imports going into Brazil.
Wow.
Mexico is trending that way. It's double digits as well, cost of money. So that's an issue. But the demand is not there. And as we were saying, prices are low, but people still don't want to buy.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating sometimes. But yeah, I mean, trying to to make it happen and keep trying. Just keep trying,
Which on paper, like cost of money in the States is also, I mean, it's not that high, but it's higher. But people are still spending money for whatever reason. So obviously it's being, you see higher cost of money in other places like that, and people just aren't spending money.
Yeah, yes, correct.
Well, I mean, you think about, we've had a lot of these conversations, even in our Friday meeting, like the cost of money right now is prime plus 1 or 2%, or 1 or 2 basis points. So like 8-9%. We work off a margin of 2 to 7% ish, if we're lucky in distribution. So if you're paying 8 or 9%,
it's a wash.
It's a wash. I mean, so, and one of the things we also talked about Friday is we're going to see a wave of bankruptcies here because people have operated their companies cash free. So every time there's cash, it's zapped out of the business, given to the private equity owners, the owners, et cetera. And they felt like they could forever be, at 0% interest rates from their bank or 1 or 2% interest rates from their bank. And now that's all changed. You can never gamble on something that is free money or anything will last forever.
Yep.
So we've seen a wave of consolidation for, my whole career in this business where distributors are buying distributors at ridiculous multiples, funding that by borrowing money, and then take the cash out of the businesses they buy and use bank money. It's kind of a sketchy situation. You know what I mean? This is just on the distribution side. We're not even talking about the manufacturing side where you got to have capital expenditure every year. You got to upgrade. You got to maintain. There's constantly money flowing into these plants when things slow down this dramatically.
Yep.
And the last point I want to make is the extreme heat we've seen. It's a news thing where they're just trying to get us all hyped up. I get that, but in certain regions, there's always chemical plants in the South in certain regions, and those have been extremely hot. And we've seen some problems associated with that extreme heat in terms of cooling these major plants. These world scale plants. So, so some of that has, and we're also dipping our toes into hurricane season here now. So it's been a very quiet one, but it is an El Nino year, which is typically a very active one. So we're expecting things to ramp up tremendously right now. So based on higher energy costs, based on hurricane season, people have to be careful with their inventories. You have to pay attention because I see some prices rising. We're at the bottom. We're going to go up.
Yep. Yeah, obviously on the bankruptcy front, we saw the yellow LTL bankruptcy, which is massive. I'm sure we'll talk about with the TLC folks, but that was a large LTL carrier that really, I think, prided themselves on having some of the best/lowest prices, and obviously that caught up with them when interest rates are 8-9%.
Yeah, that was buy. They bought, they purchased to grow, and they did it at very high multiples, and it caught them, and ended up catching them. And now everybody has to suffer.
Right.
It's not just LTL that's suffering. Full truckloads overall capacities are suffering right now because Yellow's just shut the doors.
Yep.
They're gone.
Overnight. Which was, I think it was like 15% of the LTL market or something like that. Like a big percentage.
Big chunk,
of it. Yeah. All right. Well, lot to digest there. Anything else that we're missing on hot topics, news? We'll get to some of the FM stuff in a second, but
I don't think so. I think we covered it pretty good.
A lot going on. But as I was putting the notes together, it feels like one of the first times in a while that there's a whole bunch of things to talk about. There's a whole bunch of things that are changing and going on.
I love the price letter increases. It was a shocker.
Yeah.
Coming up good amounts, like 7 cents, 8 cents on many things. I was surprised.
Amines, acetone,
out.
Oh yeah.
OX.
Yeah,
orthoxylene.
People's price increase letters were no longer, they had to upgrade their computer to go in and edit the price increase letters. It's been so long. I would say as always, but as often, we have our folks and friends at the logistics company on to talk about freight and logistics. I think it's a interesting time happening now with maybe things pivoting a bit, prices getting more expensive, obviously the LTL delays. So we'll give it over to TLC for a logistics update. Good morning, Jameson. How we doing?
Not too bad. How are you, Ben?
Going the formal route today.
Yeah.
How's everything going?
Oh, it's actually picked up a little bit in the last week or so, I think. Just based off of, we've had, the ups and downs that I think everyone's feeling throughout the economy in this day and age. But
well, things picking up is a good thing. Two of the big things I think we've been talking about on the TCC side, and I'll let you pick and choose which order we'd like to talk about them in. Obviously, the yellow YRC, bankruptcy has been a hot topic, especially with some of the smaller orders and LTL delays. And we've also been talking a bunch about oil prices, gas prices, diesel prices, what that's going to potentially do to freight coming into the fall and the winter months. So I'll let you pick and choose which we'd like to talk about first. But I think two of the hot topics going on in freight for on our side these days, and I'm sure you're seeing much of the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those are definitely the two big, I'd say, leading items right now.
Nice.
In the freight world.
I guess correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all see it, on a daily basis, in our personal lives even. Fuel has been going up I think the national average has been going up about 10 cents a week on diesel, roughly. So obviously it's a big jump. We're back to getting those big jumps that we saw, I think it was 2 years ago, roughly. But, obviously we've seen that spike up before. So with that, your freight costs are going to at least incrementally come up every week or so until that oil price dips back down. But that's kind of just the wait and see on our end, and we do the best we can to relay those changes and mitigate anything there.
And that obviously is just an impact of oil prices going up, which obviously has its own set of intricacies, whether it's a lack of supply with some of the production cuts and or maybe demand for it increasing a little bit. But until those oil prices start coming down, it sounds like freight will kind of get a little more expensive as well.
Yeah, and I mean it kind of goes hand in hand with anything else that's going up. Chemicals, anything else that is climbing with that. The second one, the YRC, that is definitely a big topic.
What is YRC? I should look this up first. Why is it yellow or YRC? Do you know what YRC stands for?
So YRC, I believe it's Yellow Roadway Corporation.
Okay.
But that basically yellow roadway, right away. There's a lot of companies that ended up getting folded into that over the years.
YRC Freight reflects the yellow transportation founded in 1924. YRC Freight is the largest subsidiary of Yellow with corporate headquarters in Kansas. So I guess two ways of saying the same thing.
Yeah, basically. And that kind of goes into a lot of what it appears their problems were with the unions and different subsidiary companies within that. So you had that also affected like USF Holland and I'm trying to think, New Penn, I believe, as well. So a lot of different other companies that were folded into that. But that's causing, a big impact on the LTL world because you suddenly take away, I think it's 10-ish% of the capacity of the nation's LTL network. And that, it sounds somewhat small when you say it like that, but then you think about it like, no, that's 10% of the freight that needs the new home.
Yeah. So I guess 30-second summary, Yellow obviously was struggling for a little while. They got a big loan from the government. They had issues with the Teamsters and their unions and whatnot, which all led, maybe some poor acquisitions or merging the acquisitions together, which obviously led to a sudden bankruptcy. It's kind of the e-pitch.
I think so. I'm certainly not an expert on the matter. To be honest, we really didn't use Yellow or YRC all that much ourselves. It just was not one of our preferred carriers. So for us, it's directly not as much of an impact, but certainly indirectly with freight being shifted on to other carriers. The XPOs, the T-Forces, those SDs, those other companies.
Yep.
And, just our customers as well reaching out for new solutions.
Yep. And obviously, I'm sure you can tell me how that shows a benefit of working with a company like TLC or 3PL rather than, say, going direct to Yellow Freight. If Yellow Freight was your 3PL carrier or your LTL carrier, they go bankrupt, all of a sudden you're starting from zero versus, 3PL, you have some security there.
We're constantly looking at, various options, and we don't use any one carrier for that particular reason. You have to balance it out, similar to how, folks in the chemical world usually don't have a sole supplier. They usually have at least a, B supplier that picks up a little bit of the slack every now and then just to stay in the mix. It's kind of similar.
Yeah. It's good business.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we've seen a lot on the TCC side as well. It seems like it's been an interesting couple weeks. There's a lot of things going on. People are certainly talking more. There's some excitement in the industry. It may not all be good stuff, but there's things to talk about. There's things that are moving around and impacting obviously the chemical side, and obviously the freight is a large piece of that with how you can move stuff around and prices and everything like that. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly been busy, as you said. I mean, certainly not everything's always positive, but we like to look at things as, even if, we're dealing with a claim or anything like that, that's still, it still shows that things are moving. It still shows that we're busy.
Yeah.
You'd prefer not to,
right?
But
yeah.
Such is life.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think we get to a point where, for a long time, at least how we were getting pricing, was the line haul plus fuel surcharge, and obviously that varied. Do you think we get to a point where the fuel surcharges are that volatile again, or is it just kind of a thing where things are just kind of trending a little more expensive, but it's sort of a ratable increase?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely trending up. I don't foresee, so at all carriers, it kind of depends on who you're working with as to whether or not they do that anyways.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to contracts and pricing and
Sure.
all those fun things.
Sure.
But I don't foresee TLC really pushing back towards that too aggressively. It is, as you said, it's pretty ratable. So, yeah, as long as things keep trending and we can kind of forecast how we think it's going to go,
right,
then
yeah,
if something changes, then we just revisit.
Sure. Flexibility.
Yeah.
Any other big things worth mentioning in the freight world, or are those the two things that are keeping you up at night?
I would say those are the two leading items.
Perfect. Well, as always, we appreciate the insight. A lot of interesting things happening, a lot of stuff to keep our eyes on as we get into some of the cold weather months, and maybe see oil prices continue going up and seeing the LTL world shake itself out with what's going to happen there. So should be an interesting couple weeks and months here.
It should be. Yeah.
Well, as always, thanks for coming on, Jamie. Good to see you, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, moving on. Kind of looking at more of a macro view of things. One of the things we've sort of alluded to and haven't really talked too much about specifically is kind of this supply and demand balance. We've talked about a couple of price increase letters for the first time. We've seen some FM letters for the first time in a while based on a variety of different things. Robb, you mentioned the Dow FM earlier. Obviously, we saw acetone pricing moving up. We saw a recent FM from Indorama and MEG, MTB, and a couple other products. So actually seeing some tightness in the market, which has kind of, I think, evened that supply and demand balance. That demand is still certainly slower, but when you also bring supply maybe down to some of those levels, you get a bit more balance versus the very much so demand or buyer's market we've seen for the last couple of months. It's been a interesting pivot, and I think the last 2 weeks especially, we've seen some calls, some inquiries on things that maybe we hadn't in a while. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah, the amines have been a run recently with the Dow explosion / fire. Fortunately, nobody was killed in that, and everybody made it out all right. But that's had some downstream impact on things like mono, di, and triethanolamine, and it's probably going to be 6 months.
I was going to say for 6 months
minimum to repair, to get back up and running, and that's going to have a major impact for. I think last time there was a suit over this. It got really ugly, but and then the Indorama thing I heard was oxygen supply, and it's a short-lived, a couple weeks, not a major impact. But we've seen, a full year of destocking across the board. And so maybe that'll eventually have a turn and people will be back buying again, hearing what Javi's saying. And what we're seeing on an order basis is things picking up, over June. July was still pretty slow, but August is definitely, we're pacing at a much, we don't care about dollars, because dollars decrease with the value of the product, but we look at the number of orders and how many bulk trucks we're shipping, and definitely August is better than July. So hopefully that continues.
Yep, exactly. I think highlights, just to sort of plug TCC have been, a great opportunity to be working with, supply partners. I think like us, obviously with like the MEA, for example, stuff gets tight if you're relying on one source. Obviously, stuff like this happens, and Javi hits all of his contacts, and we have multiple sources of things from all over the world. So, obviously there was the issue with U.S. produced material, but obviously we've been able to help folks with supply and fill that gap for the end of the year with material. So obviously using those contacts.
Yeah, my WhatsApp it's been. As I said last week, I was working. I don't know. This week is starting good.
Nice.
WhatsApp me.
And I know like the early part of this year, I feel like the biggest word we heard over and over and again was just destocking.
Right.
You know, obviously people
you
had.
You don't hear that much.
I was just to say, I feel like that's kind of come to an end. You know, it's,
Hopefully.
people have run through the inventory they had produced. You know, people are still buying stuff, but now people actually have to produce material to backfill that finished goods rather than just relying on the materials in the warehouse. So people are still hesitant. I think, you know, no one's brought their finished goods supply for January of next year. You know, people are, I think, still hesitant about it, but I think we've seen an uptick on that side.
Yes, well said.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that there was like that change for a while there to other products because things were so tight. TOFA, for example, you know, looking at other products because now all of a sudden there's offers, you know, it's available. You know, so even the things that were in dire straits and globally consumed, you know, TOFA was impacted by biodiesel, and the consumption for biodiesel was so heavy in Europe. And a lot of these things, these government mandated changes have tremendous impact. You know, the biofuel thing, the electric energy thing, you know, all of this has tremendous impact upstream. So we've seen some of that, you know, change recently. And my friends over in Europe are saying things have to change dramatically there, you know, when it comes to their trajectory. And it seems like the same trajectory in Europe was what China sort of undertook as their trajectory, a green, you know, and sustainable, all these different things were number one. And now they're not doing well, you know, so you got to kind of roll that. We can't rush these things, I guess is the point, you know, and there's going to be new technologies that come out that maybe create electricity better, or, you know, biofuels, if they're going to crimp markets and eat into our food, then it's a problem.
Right.
So, and it's funny because when I did talk to Europe yesterday, they were talking a lot about that because that's a big push in Europe right now. And they're seeing it not going well.
Yeah, I mean, their energy prices are still high and it's summer. So if you know, they're starting to look at winter as well and see what the prices are doing. I'm sure there's some
major concerns there. Yeah, definitely.
One of the last kind of bullet points I had is kind of general stuff we've been talking about. I feel like we've been talking a bunch about just relationships this week, you know, how important relationships are with suppliers, with customers, with your freight logistics folks to get information, to be able to fill a gap in supply. You know, I feel like we've obviously seen lots of companies going the route of, you know, putting things out to bid or reverse bid or hiring external companies to audit things and whatnot. And, you know, relationships are one of those things that you can't monetize. You can't put on paper. You can't say this is the dollar value of it. Obviously, at the end of the day, you got to have a positive balance sheet and make money for a company, so you get that part of it. But I feel like stuff, you know, when stuff's slow like this, rather than going back to suppliers and just trying to squeeze every penny out of it, you know, you got to make changes that are appropriate to the market, you know, understand what's happening and what we need to do to obviously keep orders going, but not just, you know, look at nothing but the dollars and cents piece of it. I feel that's something we've talked about a bunch recently, and seems like it becomes less and less of a focus as you talk about private equity and all that good stuff.
Right.
So it's been interesting. Just as stuff gets slow, everyone goes back and wants to squeeze stuff, goes back to, like, you know, not traveling, not developing relationships like that. Like, that's the opposite of what, you know, folks should be doing. Obviously, it's easy to say, but when it comes down to actually outlaying the money to travel and build those relationships, it becomes very easy to cut off when stuff slows down.
I think it happens both ways, you know what I mean? I think on the buyer side, when they get abusive and everything's an RFP, every order is an RFP and relationship is gutted.
Yep.
I think people remember that, and eventually they get burned because of what they did, memory wise. Flip the coin. When you talk about suppliers, if they gouge, if they try and monopolize a market and raise prices, again, the coin's gonna flip, and it's gonna be, you know. So I think it's gotten more in my career. It's gotten more abusive on the bottom and the top.
Sure.
You know, so when people are selling, I think they get a little bit more egregious, and I think when people are buying and prices are low, it's gotten also quite egregious. But one of the things that I've been kind of thinking a lot about lately with relationships is how important the interhuman relationship is. It's interesting to me to see some of the young folks in our company come up. They're unbelievable with systems. they're killing it with computer system softwares. We are stepping forward, in huge paces when it comes to technology, but they don't have the interpersonal skills. So we're like teaching them how to make eye contact and shake hands and have a relationship, because it's all been here. You know what I mean? So in the future, where we were training towards systems, for me and all of us here, really, I think the next generation is going to be training towards interpersonal skills and meeting face to face and having relationships outside of your Snapchat and your phone and things like that. So kind of a weird thing, but it's happened. It's not happening. It's happened,
Which I think we're lucky to have, like the Joe DeVersas and the Ray Altenbergers of the world, like guys that, cut their career on
true sales professionals.
Interpersonal skills. And, the fact that like even myself, I've learned a lot from those guys traveling with them and whatnot, just because you learn those sorts of things. I'm sure you can attest to that too when you started out and are,
That's something
Joe, maybe not Ray, but I'm kidding, Ray. I've learned a lot from you. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's something I don't know that AI can ever replace that interpersonal piece, right? Like I don't know if there's a way to like chat GPT, like how to become friends with somebody and implement that in an effective way, you know. But I don't know. It's kind of crazy that companies are trending away from sales calls and going more to like a like a telemarketing type platform, But it's happening, and that seems to be that seems to be the trend lately.
And I think we're lucky that our business is this way. Like, I'm going to get something from Amazon. I don't want to talk to somebody. I want my $3.48 napkins, just delivered because I pushed a button. But, for us, in our business, it's all about relationships and talking to people and knowing what's happening. I think it's even more prevalent in, Mexico and Latin America. Like, I know from talking to you, like there's, guys we do business with that we've known for 3, 4, 5 years, and it's taken that long to build a relationship before they even want to talk about doing work together, because you want to have that relationship and whatnot. Like on paper, you're almost like sacrificing, business and orders and a new supply chain, but they're okay with that. They they want that relationship there. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, we were interviewing someone this week, and he was interviewing with a competitor, and he says, "Well, I want to get out and travel, and I want to not come to the office all the time." And they go, "Oh no, you got to come to the office every day, 8 to 5, and you got to be on the phones. We don't travel. We don't see people. We only do things here in Florida from the phone, and." What?
That was wild. Yeah.
What? Like you're not going anywhere. You're not seeing anyone. You're just hitting the phones or emailing, you know, and that's wild, because relationships are everything. This is not napkins. This is hazardous, carcinogen, based, stuff that's dangerous to move, to sell, to handle. Everything, every I has to be dotted, T has to be crossed. Everything's got to be done properly. You better trust who you're dealing with. And everybody here has been in this industry for a long time, probably the lowest here, but we've been here a long time. We're not going anywhere. Like that's the value we bring to the market, is that you don't gain trust overnight.
Yep.
You gain trust over time. And so, so it's wild. The relationships is everything.
Yeah, AJ was introduced as the old guy when I started 7 years ago, so I don't know where that puts you now.
I don't know about that. He's still a young buck.
Remember that when I think it was when I started. Maybe it was someone else, but like Carrie was walking around and was like, "Yeah, AJ's the old guy in the
Carrie,
office."
Yep, Carrie called him the old guy. I remember that.
Oh man.
Getting into some price stuff. I think we've talked about most of it. Oil's trending back upwards, gas kind of trending back upwards. Benzene has come down between July and August, but spot, since the August contract is coming back up. Yep. So things really, on the raw material side, moving upwards. I think that coupled with some supply disruptions, seems like an equation for some price increases coming for the end of the year. So I think we'll kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, a lot of people say propylene's also hit a bottom. So we'll see. Yeah. Brent crude, 86, WTI 83.
Yep.
It's up there.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a matter of seeing what some imports do. I mean, freight continuing to trend upwards will certainly impact things. So it'll be, I think it'll be an interesting August and September. Good time for some things like the EPCA that we're starting to set meetings for.
It's going to be robust discussions there. See what's happening over in Europe and how things can continue.
Going up pretty good, I think, too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but for most of Europe being on vacation too, I'm surprised with how the schedule. Like people want to make meetings, they want to make sure that their schedules are full. I know that we've got a solid start to and I'm sure the next couple of weeks will really start to solidify that too.
What about that? Like, what if like China, Europe? When you go on vacation, everybody's on vacation. Yeah. Like that's like a nightmare to me. Like I don't want to like go on vacation and not be able to get a reservation, not be able to get on the beach, not be able to get a chair. I want to go when like nobody's around. Like I want to schedule my vacation, but like in China, the holidays are the holidays. Everybody's running to the train and going home. And it's like just massive amounts of people moving. So I don't know. I think they're onto something, but
it's a good point. I didn't even think about it that way. But like on the one hand, stuff's gonna be slow. You're not missing a whole lot of work because you're on vacation, because everyone's on vacation. But you're right, like when everyone's on vacation, like that sounds awful.
Travel's gonna be way more expensive.
It's just like school vacation, right?
Exactly.
Like you have February break, April break, Christmas break, and no one wants to go away because it's so expensive.
Like if you could only go to Cape Cod on the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah,
right.
My nightmare.
I'll stay home.
That's what I'm saying.
Route 6 on 4th of July. No.
Absolutely not.
Disney during February break.
Exactly.
No. Or any break, a holiday, like
any school vacation.
No, just
it's empty now because it's a woke company, so it's empty down there now. You go now. Now's the time to go if you want to go to Disney.
Got some good deals and kissing me on real estate right now.
Just picture that, but for a whole continent. Like it's crazy to think about. Well, I think that kind of wraps things up. That thing, a lot going on, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, a lot of things changing pricing, a lot to keep your head wrapped around. A lot of supply chain, some benefits, some concerns. A lot going on, it seems like.
Yeah. Just keep hitting the phones, keep emailing, traveling, do the whole thing.
Working.
Keep working. Back to the basics.
Keep doing your job.
Keep doing your job. That's a good idea.
That's a good start. Yeah.
I should think about that one.
Put that on the to-do list.
How's the to-do list looking?
No, I was telling these guys that I like when I'm in the office and the to-do list grows. I like it. I like it very much. And it's getting it up there. Getting there, yes.
Got some real stuff on there. It's
yes. It's not all personal. No. It's going. I have follow-ups to do and things like that. So I'm happy.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
AJP, any final wise words?
Nope.
Good.
Yeah, I think we summed it up pretty well.
Coco?
I think everything was basically said. Just send the orders.
Yeah,
right? Hit the phone, send the orders. There we go.
You agree with that?
We will accept all orders.
Yeah.
Send them in.
Send them in.
Beautiful. Well, as always, we appreciate you for listening. Appreciate you streaming, whether you're on the audio version or we're watching the 5 of us here in our podcast studio. Thank you, 4 of you guys, for taking some time this morning. Always a lot of fun. Appreciate you for listening, and catch you on the next one.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, Benny.
Thanks.
The material contained on this podcast is provided by the chemical company solely for informational purposes. The information is not guaranteed to be correct, complete, or up to date. The information in the podcast is intended solely as a general education aid. TCC is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of TCC policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by TCC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by TCC employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of TCC or any of its officials. All statements, comments, and opinions presented are made in the context of robust dialogue and freedom of expression. TCC assumes no responsibility for any consequence relating directly or indirectly to any action or inaction taken based on the information in this podcast. While TCC strives to keep the information in the podcast accurate, complete, and up to date, we cannot guarantee and will not be responsible for any damage or loss related to the accuracy, completeness, or timeliness of the information. TCC assumes no liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained on the podcast is provided entirely on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.